And so this is where I want to introduce you guys to the Linda's suicidal drinking game. The rules are simple. Every time something is super sexy for no reason at all, you take a shot. So, bottoms up. Oh, this was a bad idea.
Suicidal drinking game, eh? Why not? It's not like I have anything to live for. Let's get this party started! Oh god, this was such a bad idea.
A quick pop quiz. What should you do immediately after a plot point? Do you A, make a jelly? You don't fucking skip it is what you fucking do!
If Alejandra has a milk company, and milk comes from cows, and cows are a people, then doesn't that mean... The only thing I learned here is that everyone's problems would be solved if they just fucked each other. Huh. Didn't last as long as I thought it would.
Last Linda's drinking game. Let's do it. I can already tell this was a bad idea. You know what? This was a really bad idea. I'm gonna go get some water now and change to that. You know what? This wasn't even a worse idea. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish this. You know what? I give up. I'm out of alcohol, the water's going right through me, so I'm leaving now.
I'm okay, cause I have the things and the thing. What the hell's going on? I don't even know anymore. That wasn't vodka. You didn't have to slap me! I wouldn't have to if you just stopped spacing out like a total klutz. Anyway, this is make or break. So let's go out there and finish this train wreck. Yeah, okay. Let's go.
And I'm ready to run over my enemies. Feel my pride, baby, just move back. Victory's mine, 'cause I got the fight, will, hustle, skill. Raise the wall, I'm showing you who's real. I'm stepping in your grill, 'cause I'm ready for the thrill. Hungry like a wolf, I'm going in for the kill.
Let's do a funny thought experiment. No, seriously, it'll be hilarious. Take Les Lindas and flip it around. Have all the males be females and all the females be males. How fucking big an outcry wouldn't you have if Mora was a dude who got people to work for him just cause he was super handsome and had a big dick? Jennifer Hale, the voice actress of female Shepard from Mass Effect and Naomi Hunter from Metal Gear, once said something that has stuck with me to this day. The way you write a good female protagonist is that you write a story just like any other story, and then you just, coincidentally, have the main protagonist be a woman. That's it! Here's a tip. That's also a great way to not objectify women. The reason I'm saying all of this is because this is but another of the literal hundreds of issues of Les Lindas I have yet to bring up, and now seems as good a time as any. It objectifies women. Every girl in this comic is portrayed as sex on legs whose main function is there to get the reader and the male characters' rocks off. Even the strong, seemingly independent female characters, Rachel and Alejandra, heavily swoon the moment a hot guy as much as look at them. Taffy can't even seem to function without having a guy either, despite her relationship with Miles went absolutely horrible. Quick pop quiz. What's Mora's main strength? Is it her too slow? It's her boobs. Seriously, all Mora does is using her sex appeal to get what she wants. The reason why little to no of the female characters of this comic has any personality worth speaking of is because they're just meant to be a pair of boobs, an ass, and a pussy.
That you're just the container I shoot it into.
Even what little personalities they have just defaults into various kinks one might have. Taffy is the sweet, innocent and loving girl, Rachel is the reluctant and shit-talking one, and Mora is the wild one that'll speak all sorts of filth to you during the process. And Sarah? No! No! Bad! No! Do you know the trope 5-man band? Basically, it's the most brass-taxed, uncreative group of characters where all 5 people in the band just falls into the archetype described within. First of all, there is the leader. This is usually the quote-unquote hero of the comic and can be a mastermind, charismatic, level-headed, headstrong, or a combination of those. In this case, that's obviously Mora, or at least what she is meant to be. There's the Lancer, who is usually a contrast to the leader. In this case, that's obviously Rachel. There's the smart guy, the physical weak but intelligent or clever member, who is often nerdy and awkwardly played for comic relief. He's usually the buddy of the big guy. In case you haven't guessed it, the smart guy here is Miles. The big guy, the strong, dumb and or silent type, is obviously Minos. And last there's the chick. The chick is a peacekeeping role to balance out the other members' aggression, the one who keeps people from ripping each other's heads off. And this is Taffy. Honestly, we learned about the 5-man band when I was still in grade school, and these fuckers couldn't even escape from making the laziest fucking set of characters ever. They don't even remotely deviate from this trope. I cared more for the fucking Power Rangers, a show mainly intended for the young crowd, while this fucking steam pile of shit can't even make better characters. But whoops, maybe that's not fair comparison. I mean, for all we know, this comic is intended for kids at the age of 4. Seeing it so fucking clear that these writers didn't know who their audience was. I'm angry. I'm livid with this piece of shit. People think this is good. People look at this garbage and believe this is good writing. In case you haven't noticed, this has long since gone from being about the art and is now just about the writing. Why does this comic deserve so much hate, people might ask? Well, I'll tell you. It sets aspiring writers' standards too low. People look at Les Lindas and think, this is successful. Perhaps this is what goes as good writing, and thus they don't take it any further than this. It's like the people who commit crimes simply because the media gives them so much attention. In their minds, that's what you have to do to get popular. Think about it. How many YouTubers did you see who copied PewDiePie down to a fucking T when he first became popular? To them, that was the pinnacle of online entertainment. I mean, fuck me, I'm doing this show because I was inspired by the Spoony one. Now, if you simply can't write any better than this, then fine, write shit like Les Lindas as much as you want. But imagine how many people who want to make their own stories who purposely kneecaps themselves to be like Les Lindas. Imagine if Attack on Titan started being all about Mikasa's tits, because every fucking other popular anime this day and age is all about boobs. And it's especially bad with Les Lindas, because the people who read this garbage are usually teenagers, arguably the most easily influenced people on this planet. Imagine what this comic does to them. It tells them that plot holes, shitty main protagonists, no plot, poor shit backstories, no drama, and absolutely horrendous storytelling can be easily swept under the rug as long as you give boobs enough screen time. So when this fucking cesspool of fur and bad writing starts ripping off the jokes of the thing that got me started on this whole thing, it's no longer about whimsy and fun and drinking games. No, it's someone who wants people to have a higher standard and who's out for fucking blood. And just one more thing before we continue to actually read this comic. I will only say this once, so listen up. The art in this comic is good. It's great even. It's warm, it's colorful, and it has Cello's own unique flavor. It has its charm, and it can be incredibly hot when it wants to. Yes, Cello is a great artist, and has become a semi-decent comic artist. If you go back and watch my videos up to now, you'll see that I start shitting less and less about the art, and that's because Cello's art vastly improves. I personally think that the art at this point doesn't deserve all the hate it has gotten. I can't help but feel that it's just getting shat on because it's associated with the writing. What I'm getting at is that Cello, please fucking leave these amateurs and start working for someone who knows the nut from their elbow when it comes to writing. This is wasted potential at its fucking finest. Find someone who can actually write and brush up a little on making comic art, and I guarantee you'll be at least 10 times more successful than you are now. But oh no, I only shit on this comic, right? I never complimented anything. Fuck you! Fuck you! I'm fucking pissed! I'm pissed because this is torture! You know what the most effective way of torture is? Like, you think the best way of torture is just attaching a car battery to someone's nuts and let it stay like that overnight? No. The most effective form of torture is the one with the relief. The one where it eventually stops every now and then. The one that kinda gives you a briefing room to realize just how good it feels to not be tortured anymore just before it starts again. Cause, let's be honest, when I eventually grade this garbage, it'll still have a score over of 1. I mean, at times, you are more invested in it than Sonichu, and sometimes you care more about the characters than an Incarnate. But that's what makes it all so bad. You keep getting the relief, the prospect that this comic is going places, and then it yanks you down again. You keep constantly seeing what could have been. You keep being offered that hand that'll help you up after it beats you down, only to lift you up and suplex you through a table immediately again afterwards. It sets you up just to knock you down so much harder every goddamn time. I've lost count on all the times people have written to me saying how they'd have done the story different, and it's obviously always better. This goes to show that you could have had something super freaking good here. The premise has so much potential behind it, and the universe allows for so much to happen, but these writers either just don't see it or are too stupid to do anything with it. Defenders of this comic has even said to me that writers can't take every suggestion readers have, cause then it wouldn't be as Linda's as we know it. Good! That's exactly what would make it better! Okay, I think I'm good to get going. Actually, no. After Randall asks, like a total doofus, what a paladin is, we return to the farm where Rachel finds Sarah climbing around in the trees. Rachel isn't very happy about this, cause as she says, Sarah looks like a mess. How exactly? Are you referring to this one band-aid she has on her knee? She then follows up with saying that they have finally gotten her to dress right. Really? The only difference between this and Moore's whore outfit is that this one has short sleeves. That's hardly the issue here. To be fair though, they now have Sarah say that at least she's getting paid, and we can only assume that Rachel is being so as well. The problem with this at this point is the same thing that if the writers of this comic started addressing many of the other issues I brought up over the course of these videos. By tackling it now, sure we get some answers, but this is way too many pages we've been left clueless as to what's what about something as trivial as being paid. It's something that could have been easily done much sooner and would have avoided all these misunderstandings altogether. Now, don't misunderstand, I don't want all my answers here and now. There are some answers I'm perfectly fine with first getting way later, but kinda crucial stuff like this that at the same time is rather trivial shouldn't be waited with like this. I mean, you've firsthand seen what impression this can give you of the various characters. You won't honestly tell me you honestly believe I thought they weren't actually being paid. Of course I knew they were, but that's not what we were told through the story. Some stuff you just find out because you simply don't give the writers any credit, and you really don't want to be dependent on that. Speaking of poor writing, yeah, that's kind of becoming a running theme by now, Rachel is now stating yet again how they need to get out of the farm. Oh sweet fuck, are you serious? Okay, why? Why would you want to leave? You are clearly living well here at the farm despite Mora being a dumb bitch, and even if the people who are out to get Sarah, yeah, bet you forgot about those two, arrive, you got fucking Minos who can and has taken down huge fucking robots in a single strike. And he's immortal. And Mora inexplicably gets all kind of help thrown in her face due to her Marisu powers. The safest place on Neo Earth is quite literally at this fucking farm. And if we flip it around, why the fuck haven't you left yet? What is keeping them on the farm if not for the fucking security I just mentioned? They're clearly no longer paying off the shit they ruined if they just now stated that they get paid. And if it's Sarah staying there that's keeping them there, why not just put on your big sister boots and say, fuck you, my rules, and drag her along? It's not like we haven't seen her do stuff for Sarah's best despite Sarah's wishes. Anyway, because the writers didn't know how to end the strip, they have Sarah pop down and ask Rachel, "You mad? You are Jellycat? You got the ticklebuck?" Which makes Rachel blush. Since when the fuck did Sarah become the adult one? Since when did Rachel become the blushing one? And how the fuck is "you mad" applicable here? How is Jelly Kitty? What is Rachel jealous of? And judging by the seeming purposely grammar errors here, I can only imagine one of the writers has just discovered 4chan or some meme or some shit.
You're not funny and nobody likes you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the before strong and confident and independent Rachel now wants to leave Las Lindas simply because she can't talk to Minos. There's also the whole Mora being the worst misconception to ever crawl out of a trash can thing, but I assume that was kind of self-explanatory. But yeah, remember what I said about the strong independent girl earlier? Well, the writers are slowly but surely yanking more and more of that off of Rachel. Watch her be another lovey-dovey waifu at the end of this comic, just fucking watch it. Anyway, after a horribly dumb and unfunny joke, we follow Rachel inside the barn where she punctures her sandbag 2 places. How? No, never mind. Miles comes in despite the fact that he should be dead as shit and happily volunteers to be Rachel's new punching bag. It goes about as well as you'd expect, which is a good scene. Not just cause Miles gets his dumb face beaten in, but because the art is great. There's great angles and a good kinetic flow behind every punch Rachel does. The next page, however, immediately overshadows Charles' great art with the writer's horrible writing. Cause now Miles is just coming straight out and saying he is aiming for Rachel and that he likes her. Wow, that's arguably the most forced and contrived bullshit I've heard in a long time. I get the whole "the enemy of my enemy is my friend," but to which extent have these two shared any sort of affections other than that one date? Next thing you're gonna tell me that Itwat is gonna confess his undying love to the ice cream vendor cause they were on that one page together once. Speaking of which, where the fuck is Itwat? So instead of kicking Miles' face off like any sane person would, she instead hauls her kick next to his head. And since when did Miles start getting bald? Damn man, I feel you. Hey, no, fuck you! I'm not gonna identify with this asshole! Anyway, yeah, you guessed it. Rachel doesn't push him away, cause everyone on the farm needs to hook up with someone else on the farm, cause god fucking bid we started using any new characters not on the farm. So, let's try something here. I'm gonna say something to you without showing you a picture, and you're gonna guess whether or not I'm making this up. In the meantime, I'll just show you Miles getting beaten up. Okay, here goes. Remember to use your knowledge of these characters to determine whether or not I'm making this up or not. Mora comes out to Minos and tells him they're gonna talk business if he has a second, to which Minos then replies that he has all the time in the world for her. He then proceeds to kiss Mora's cleavage and tell her she should just wait until later in the most suggestive way he possibly can, and the whole thing ends with Minos looking up at Mora from her cleavage with a super chibi expression. Are you done guessing? No, take your time. If you're watching this with someone, ask them what they think. Yeah? You good? Yep. this actually happens. What the fuck happened to the quiet and stoic Minos? Why all of a sudden is he all over Mora out in the public like this? This is so not like Minos has been established up to now. Up to now he was the quiet and modest strong gentleman who, however, behind closed doors will break you like fucking lumber. But hey, if Taffy and Miles can have that many personalities, why not Minos, am I right? I mean, character consistency, how is that important? This is stuff kids know! Clifford is a big red dog! Imagine if Clifford suddenly was a small yellow Roomba! Mora asks Minos to suit up so he can take care of the job interviews as part of his new promotion as a general manager. You know, the position that most commonly has an overall responsibility for managing both the revenue and cost elements of a company's income statement. The position that is least fucking suited for Minos and best suited for Rachel. I mean, shit, even Minos doesn't want to do it, and that's first after Mora has gone through all the trouble of dressing him up and explaining him what the job entails. Again, another fucking thing that would never have happened if they just fucking talked to each other. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. It wasn't that hard at page 1, and it's sure as fuck not hard at page 403 either, you chotes! Minos and Mora talk things over, and not long passes before they suddenly decide to have sex, which Digit immediately feels. Am I the only one feeling that's kind of unnerving? That this thing that looks like a 12-year-old is clearly feeling exactly what Mora is doing and sticking inside of herself?
That would be probably the cleanest, best pleasure, I would say.
The cleanest, best pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Ugh. The next day we see someone running towards Les Lindas, and we know this dog here is gonna be the one they hire later on, cause she's upholding the manga trope of the hero always being late and kind of lost. I'll be honest and admit, I kinda like Sunny Cooper here as she's called. She's practically oozing with personality. Or maybe I should be more specific, she's oozing with a personality I don't wanna shit on. Minos is conducting interviews, including interviewing the Catbox mascot for some odd reason. It turns out Minos doesn't know his who from his horn when it comes to interviewing, knowing nothing about their benefits or in any way has his paperwork in order. It's almost like Rachel would have been a better fit for this job, isn't it? Even Miles sees how Minos is struggling and is thus bribing him into helping him with some shifts whereto Minos acts like a total pushover. I'm all for having characters that are not completely one-dimensional. But I also want the other dimensions to remind me of the same character! Outside, Taffy is talking with Sunny, describing how many people have shown up. Gosh, can you believe how many people came? There's applicants from colleges and companies all over Prism. I'm better now. Fuck you! Just fuck everything about you writers! Let me just read up 2 segments for you and maybe you'll understand where my issue is. Their planet was called Prism and its inhabitants called themselves the Primes. Okay, and the next one is: the ancient war began, and although our people fought with courage over many years, they were forced to abandon their destroyed home world. One can only imagine the pain of watching their beautiful home being reduced to stardust as they fled into deep space. Are you seeing it yet? Let me make this as simple for you as I possibly can. Prism exists as much as these writers' talent. So it's completely fucking gone! It's absent! It's non-existent! It's nothing! Prison got blown up! There are no 2 ways about it. So how the shit can these guys come from there? Shit, fuck Sunny, if these guys can live in the darkest vacuums of space all nonchalant and shit and make it to this job interview all willy-nilly, then I dare say they are a fucking working force to be reckoned with. I'm just, fuck you. There's no fucking doubt in my mind that these guys don't know their own world worth a fuck. I mean, they've even said in one of their bonus comics that this world has a Kansas. Where on earth is Les Lindas then? Is there a Denmark on this planet? And if it's shaped like our world, where the fuck does Gossamer come from? And if it's not exactly like our world, how the fuck did they pick which countries and states to have on this? And what happened to the countries that couldn't be there? Did every inhabitant of those countries get exiled off the planet to forever walk in the deepest and darkest pits of space? Is that why there doesn't seem to be a problem with overpopulation on this planet? Seeing, I think if the human race had to live alongside first, we'd kinda have that problem. And if this is just me being super wrong and this is in fact Prism and not New Earth, then my problem with the Japanese flag earlier still stands. And if the gods could just create a New Earth, why the fuck didn't they just recreate Prism? I know I said that I didn't have any beef with the origin story, but in hindsight I actually fucking do! All around Prism my ass. And before you even say she could refer to these people originating from all around Prism, that doesn't work either, seeing that was over 1,000 years ago, and it doesn't seem like these things grow super old, seeing Taffy is only 26 years old. And even if it wasn't Prism but New Earth, a different planet, are you seriously going to tell me that people are coming across the fucking globe to work on a fucking farm? Surely you just mean all around Gossamer, or the country that they live in, which we haven't gotten a name for yet. We've reached a point now where I am keeping better track of this comic's lore than its own writers. Really? This should be the end of this whole thing. I can't top this. So yeah, the whole being paid and not being paid is a small oversight, and maybe a little too much thought was put into the whole animals and eating thing. Don't get me wrong, it's still errors no matter what, but I'll admit that they are forgivable. Forgetting where your entire race originates from and why they are now on this planet? Not as much. Guys, you guys who like this comic, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. You ready? Good comics doesn't have these issues! Sunny goes in to be interviewed, or rather Sarah yanks her in, where Miles gives her a job interview that would literally have any job interviewer fired faster than you can say sexual harassment. Despite this, Sunny gets hired, seemingly because Miles likes the fact that Sunny took management classes. But wait, turns out that Miles is simply going to hire basically everyone. Is he really that stupid? Doesn't he know that the entire point with an interview is to sort the good from the bad? And if it's supposed to be a joke, I dare say it's rather unfunny and rather sexist and forced. And let's discuss some of the people that Miles interviews. Why the fuck did this raccoon show up looking like he just came from live role-playing? Even more so with the cow chick. Why is she carrying a weapon with her? Why is this chick carrying a gun with her? It's a job interview. Who the fuck takes a weapon with them into a job interview with Miles? Oh. Outside, Minos is having a monologue to himself about how he fucked up the interview and how Mora is gonna give him hell and that he deserves it. While he did not exactly live up to the task that Mora gave him and instead abandoned it like a little child, he's still done so much for the farm that it should kind of be forgiven. And not only that, but it's Mora's own fault for leaving this task in the hands of someone who's clearly not capable. Again, she has no one to blame but herself for making bad decisions. Minos' self-pity, however, is cut short as a box is dropped from the sky with parachutes to the farm, with a note to it that says, "Your turn." Minos seems to know immediately what it means, so the box is obviously for him. How the fuck did the person in the plane know where Minos was? Isn't he a wanderer with no real address? It's not like he is in any public registry as an inhabitant of Las Lindas, right? And if it just happened to land there instead of on the farm and Minos just happened to find the note attached to it as the first person, wouldn't that be incredibly forced? You got no idea. You literally have no idea. Back at the farm, Mora is about ready to skin Miles alive for helping out with the interviews, when really, as Miles points out too, she should take her anger out on Minos, who abandoned his post. But I suppose a boss can just make favorites, right? It's almost like dating the people you're working with is against many workplace rules and regulations for a fucking reason, isn't it? Anyway, before she can actually do anything to Miles, a loud crash can be heard from the kitchen. The crew tries to track down the culprit of all this damage and they are eventually led to Mora's bedroom where they find some fan service. You know what I keep saying about Las Lindas taking one step forward and a giant backflip back? Well, introducing Sunny was a step forward in the right direction. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is the backflip. And not even a good one. It's one of those where you do the backflip and you land on your head and suddenly you can't feel your legs anymore. This is Giku. Yes, Giku. And isn't it funny how she's called that when she's obviously a lizard? Giku is the writer's dumb, shitty excuse to up the fan service by a freaking million. And she is also a walking trope that I personally freaking hate, which is the character who can't speak very well. You know, like me Riser, me review comics. Basically like Keiman Shuhei. Giku seems to have stolen a bunch of food and is now eating it on Mora's bed. Then why the hell was the faucet in the bathroom broken? Was she looking for cake in there? Either way, she of course funnels Mora and is crawling around on all four. Why exactly does she of all people crawl around on all four when we've not seen a single furry thus far not walking on two legs? And why is her way of speaking so fucked up? Even the people Edward found on the island spoke better English than this chick. Anyway, before I can ask more questions, Minos comes in to find Giku, giving us even further fan service. Starting to see what I mean? When Mora asks Minos who Giku is, he replies with Giku being Minos' cousin. What then follows are two panels in which Mora's boob and Minos talk about things that I'm quite sure just takes turns in shooting the whole origin and difference between the furries and animals in the foot. Mora more or less just asks how this chick can be Minos' cousin when they are completely different species, and goes as far as to say that she looks more reptilian than bovine. Before the kneecapping of their own universe continues any further, Giku then says, "I didn't know you could sleep with your cousin," obviously insinuating that Minos and Giku has had sex. She could have just said that she wasn't Minos' cousin. But then we wouldn't have to take a shot now, would we? So, creating the theory that garbage characters attract other garbage characters, we now see Din and Jin again. And here I was just about ready to willingly forget they ever existed. They seem to recognize Giku as both keeper and mother. I'm gonna give the writers the benefit of the doubt here and say they are indeed not able to be children of Giku, seeing Din and Jin are obviously having fur while Giku has scales. You know, the exact same thing that Minos and Mora just brought up. Din and Jin tries to fly to Giku, but are immediately halted by the door that Mora slaps in Minos' face as a result of them arguing. Let me just remind you of a few things, cause it honestly seems like at this point I'm keeping better track of this comic than its own writers. Okay, so let's start with why Minos and Mora are fighting. Mora is chewing Minos' asshole because he has had sex with Giku, a chick he apparently knew before meeting Mora. This is coming from the chick who literally acted as a prostitute when looking for her dad. Talk about calling the kettle black. Now, I'm far from the first person to bring up this issue. In fact, there's a bunch of people who have brought this up. But my main issue is not as much this, as it's just ruining Minos even further, who already was on a sudden downward slope for some odd reason. Because, well, remember how big a deal it was that his last relationship was Grace? Another contradiction, by the way. Well, it was kind of important that his last partner was Grace, cause from the looks of things, he was still not over her. Plus, he didn't seem like the kind of guy to just have sex here and there. There's also the fact that Grace looks somewhat like Mora, and one could be persuaded into thinking that Mora just filled the void that Grace left, which, you know, could have been used for actual drama. What it boils down to is that now Minos is no longer this valorous knight who gave his heart and soul to one lady and only hooked up with Mora in the hopes of feeling like he did back then. Now he's just another sex-depraved twat who'll jump on anything as long as the nookie is good enough. I didn't even know I had something in Minos I liked. Guess it's true what they say, that you don't know what you have until it's gone, huh? Din and Jin chases after Giku as they call her both mother and mom, so it is an actual mother we're talking about here. Which, like I said, makes no sense seeing they're completely different species. How the hell do you give birth to something that's... Anyway, Giku plucks a seed from the flower on her head and is able to create a giant tree from it that she then calls her new home. So me hoping that Giku will just, you know, leave is kind of out of the window. You know, getting hit by a truck. Die. No. Oh well. Back at the farm, it's business as usual, with Mora crying and whining about everything instead of actually trying to fix it, while getting the solution straight up handed to her by the one person who actually should be the protagonist, as well as proving once again that Alejandro would have been better off with not teaming up with Mora of all people. I mean, for fuck's sake, it's like teaming up with someone for a school project and all your partner is doing is eating glue and stabbing himself in the knee with a pair of safety scissors. He may be stupid, but god damn if he isn't also stubbornly retarded. After Alejandra saves the day, Mora goes to talk with Sunny. She gives her the chance of staying on the farm to then interview her herself the day after. She then further follows Alejandra's advice and talks with Miles, offering him her gratitude for filling the position that Minos up and left open. Or, well, she tries. Instead what happens is that she tries to compliment Miles, but the moment he states that he did save the day and he should get a raise for it, Mora snaps and moves outside to throw Miles into the well again. I swear this comic is a weird case of the enemy of my enemy is still a huge asshole. Sunny is in the meantime guided out to Rachel and Sarah's room to stay the night. Here Sarah has the first funny scene since Taffy and Mora went dating, with her screaming out sleepover. And it isn't as much as her doing that that's funny, but rather her face. On the next page they got all sorts of snacks lined up, as well as TV series and Wii U games. Yes, the Wii U had came out in the meantime, ready for, as Sarah says herself, the perfect sleepover. You know, I'd enjoy this page way more if I hadn't seen this picture prior to reading this. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying. Once again, I'll happily give credit where it's due, and this sleepover is actually handled really well. It's cute, it's heartwarming, and you really get the feeling that Rachel, Sarah and Sunny are bonding. We even find out that Sunny's getting this job to help her parents back home so they won't have to work so hard. This would be such a good time to touch on the people who are looking for Sarah and Rachel. You wouldn't have to tell everything, but at least just touch on it. But then again, that kind of demanded that the writers remembered that that was a thing. And surprisingly enough, the good part of this comic doesn't stop there. We continue on to Taffy and Randall, who are bonding. When he says Taffy will be a great mother, she flips her shit, and here we have a perfect example of what side comics should be all about. Believe it or not, I've actually had a bunch of people say that some of the issues that I have brought out throughout these reviews is explained through side comics. You don't do that! Plus, if we're supposed to take that shit as canon, what's to say that that's canon and breasts is the best isn't? It's fairly simple, really. Do you like having half of your game locked away behind a DLC paywall? Of course you don't. How would you like me to end the video now and then have you seek out the rest of it somewhere else on the internet? You won't like that either. The point I'm getting to is that if you explain something necessary to understand the main plot in a side comic, then just fuck you. That's just bad storytelling. That's just you forgetting to write something and then trying to excuse it as a side comic thing. But what we see here is how you should do it. See, here Taffy explains that her mom was a total bitch who didn't want kids and treated her kids like they ruined her life. Great, now we know what it's all about. But there also exists a side story explaining more in depth what exactly happened that helps justify Taffy's violent reaction to being called a mother. This is how you make a side story. See? You can do it. It only took you over 400 pages to get the least bit competent, but you can do it. The next day, Mora is interviewing Sunny. I must admit, I wholeheartedly laughed my ass off when she is reluctant to give Sunny the position because she has no experience. Cause, let's be honest, look at the fucking workforce she has now. 2 orphans with no work experience, a college dropout who quit college cause it was too hard, a waiter, a soldier, I guess, and whatever the fuck Randall did before. I'm not forgetting anyone, am I? Probably not. So when Mora says that Sunny needs experience to get the job, just fuck off, will you? What kind of experience did you have, Mora? Did your skills in blowing dudes come in handy when managing a farm? I'm pretty sure there's a porno with that exact premise now that I think about it. But because they've gone through all the trouble of introducing Sunny, might as well hire her cause Mora has got a good gut feeling. Actually, she gets the chance to prove herself as a manager because Taffy vouched for her. Woo! Personal influence. That's not biased and unprofessional at all. The next morning we see Rachel and Miles out getting ready for a morning jog. That's when Rachel says, "Heh, don't pussy out of me yet." And Miles replies, "Oh, I get it. That's funny because we're cats." Smooth. Okay, this has to stop. Even I am getting tired of pointing this out. I can excuse all of the animal references, like having Mora saying moo or saying that she can be used for hamburgers. But truth is, she says she's not a cow. Okay, that's not me assuming anything. It's right there, black and white. Well, how is this different from Miles now acknowledging that they are indeed animals? I'd love to see some of the defenders of this comic try and explain this one, cause you know what the easy explanation is? You know what you can just say about this to the authors without being wrong? You can write for shit! Anyway, they go for a run and Rachel confirms our worst fears that Miles' confession to her is still an actual thing. She asks him if he said he liked her, and if so, then this is her, and if he likes her, then he has to like this as well. Well, that's rather unfair. My ex-girlfriend loved hockey, I don't, yet we got along well enough. But hey, it's not like the love of this comic hasn't already been super superficial thus far, so it'd just be weird for it to stop now. Anyway, they bond and it's forced as shit. We then move on to Sunny doing some office work, getting ready for being the sickest manager Les Linders has ever seen. Low bar, I know. And she's actually doing a good job. See, this is what I wanted to see from Alejandra. I wanted to see someone actually doing clever manager stuff. Show that the person knows what he or she is doing. You don't even have to be specific about the notes or the likes she takes, just show that she is taking them. And now she sets out to get some results. First stop is Miles and Rachel, and I really can't be the only one thinking that this is wrong. Why are these two together? They don't share anything other than their contempt for Mora. I mean, I know none of these relationships make sense, but even to this comic's shitty standard, this is skipping some levels, enforcing garbage relationships. Suddenly, Rachel just likes Miles cause I guess she just really digs that sexual harassment. Remember
that you're just the container I shoot it into.
Sunny comes with a bunch of ideas on how to make the work efficiency better at Miles and Rachel's department, and okay, what? Why is Rachel being a cunt? I get Miles laughing at this, but need to remind you that Rachel was at first against not doing anything when starting to work with Miles, and now she's laughing at the prospect of actually having to work. Miles has just turned her into a female version of him at this point. It's kind of scary, really. Luckily, Sunny doesn't put up with the shit and gives the two a piece of her mind, which they seem to listen to. Funny how much progress she gets without beating the snot out of them, huh? Patches, or Alejandra, depending on what you prefer, arrives at Les Linders, and it turns out Mora called her over to have a drink with her. As she says herself, dogs bark, birds fly, cats slack off, and cows drink. You in? I give up. If this comic isn't even trying, why the hell should I? So they share a drink and Mora wants to teach Alejandra how to relax and unwind as she says, fantastic. Get another drink or two, Kohai. Oh, wow, okay, oh god. It's been little ages since I last did this joke. Hope I know how to do it still. You are not fucking Japanese! Mora and Alejandra share some girl talk. Of course, because these two are women, they have to talk about boys. And girls. I guess it'd be too much to ask that Mora for once didn't care about what kind of sex everyone has. And do you remember how during the confrontation between Alejandra and Tootsie, Tootsie almost says she loves Alejandra and her affection for her is kinda hinted at in that regard? Well, because this thing can't have subtlety, we now have Mora and Alejandra straight up throwing it in the reader's face. And roll the clip.
What? You want subtlety? Fuck that!
Mora and Alejandra continue their drinking, getting absolutely shit-faced. That's when we get this line of dialogue. You know, when I first saw you driving up in that fancy car, I was worried the Patches I knew was gone. Well, that's other bullshit, because she quite clearly doesn't recognize Alejandra when she first sees her. Anyway, take a shot. Make that 2 shots. On the next page, Sunny is talking about renting out their spare rooms, and thus she is asking people to move together in the same room. It's obvious that Taffy and Randall group up, and Sarah volunteers to bunk with Sunny so Rachel and Miles can be together. Will you believe me if I told you that this is the first thing Sarah has done that I actually like? And we're over 450 pages in! Oh god! This is is another pretty good scene too, actually. It shows Sarah has grown up and that Rachel needed Sarah about as much as Sarah needed Rachel. It's funny how much better this comic suddenly became all of a sudden. It's still raw garbage, don't get me wrong, but it's at least not, you know, your family chopped up and thrown in a dumpster garbage. Anyway, Sunny and Mora talks about Miles and Rachel, and Sunny suggests that Mora levels the playing field with the two to enhance the working experience on the farm. But of course Mora doesn't want to do that because that means she'd actually have to do something. But alas, she still talks with Rachel and Miles, saying it's their last chance, otherwise she'll simply kick them out. There's just a teeny tiny small problem here. A cross. The alien sentient cow from outer space is carrying around the typical symbol associated with Christianity. Writers, are you actively trying to suck? That's what I want to know. Because if you are, this might just be the best comic in the world. Rachel and Miles return to Miles' room where they discuss whether they're staying or not. Rachel is obviously staying because she can't function without Sarah and insists on hanging on to her like a hemorrhoid. And Miles stays because there's someone who is actually semi-willing to give up that nookie for him. Just try and take a step back and look at these two and their motivation. Can you honestly cheer for these two? Oh well, fine, let's exclude Rachel. But Miles? Seriously, you can understand him? No person with a half a brain can relate to this fuckhead, and even if we could, we wouldn't want to. So any drama that happens to this puke stain like this, we don't care about. It just serves to infuriate its readers. Well, at least we can have some drama with Sunny, right? I mean, there's some actual tension on whether or not she gets the job, right? And she's just given the job just like that. Let me mention just some of the things I came up with on the spot that you could do in this situation. You could have someone competing for the position. You could have her do something that Mora didn't like. You could give Sunny some opposition she'd have to overcome to show her determination for getting the position. You could do so much more with this situation. You don't make dinner just to throw it in the trash. So, because Sunny got the job, she's now writing her parents. God forbid they'd have a phone in this super advanced world with spaceships and teleportations. Dear Mom and Dad, I did it. I got the job. Mora gave me a bonus for my time and I want you to have it. It'll be the first of many, I promise. But let me tell you, it's not going to be a picnic getting this place in order. It feels like the thing was played by ear for so long and there's been a lot of mistakes. I think the last time this big an understatement was said, it came from Hitler and was like, "Ah shit! Might have gone a kleinen bisschen crazy out there." We move on to Mora and Taffy working out and then continue to stretching. You guessed it, it's shots time. Meanwhile, they talk about how Taffy should just give up the cooch even if she's not ready, and that Taffy should give it up just cause everyone else does. To every virgin watching this video, everything that is said in this comic is absolute cow shit. Don't start having sex before you're ready to it, and especially not just cause everyone else is doing it. Do I really have to point out how bad this page is? Not only is it forcing needless, sexy stuff down our throat, but the message is terrible. Imagine some young girl or boy reading this and then goes out to have his or her first time with some random stranger. I mean, this comic clearly is brightly colored and has silly, dumb slapstick humor, and is catering to a young crowd who gets sexually stimulated from hot imagery like this. Imagine if Tom and Jerry convinced you that it was a good idea to smoke crack cocaine. This really wouldn't be nearly as bad if it wasn't because this particular audience is some of the most easily influenced. It's almost like trying to hit every demographic out there with your product is a bad move, isn't it? On the next page we see Sunny going into the basement to get some folding chairs. Apparently they're gonna have a big barbecue where they'll serve ribs and hush puppies. This is where Sunny stumbles across the most vile creature from the depths. A shitty, badly written character. And roll it! Oh, we don't forget another character in the basement. That will really show how shitty writers we are. So they have Edward come up on the surface after his shitty Lord of the Rings reference. Throw in your own Metal Gear-esque tantrum here. And Edward explains he locked himself up in the basement to work on his next work. That's all you get from this page, and we move on to Sunny giving a small speech. Afterwards, Randall asks her to try his salsa and uses the sentence, You gotta try some of my famous salsa. It'll put some fur on your chest. Yeah? Then what's this? That's fur, right? And can we also take a moment to address that Sunny is in a tank top saying working girl? You know, the same term used to describe prostitutes. See? This is why we can't have nice things. Miles and Randall talk because Randall wants some advice on how to please Taffy. Miles gives us a short version of how their relationship ended, and even Randall seems fully aware of how shitty Miles is, and he flees before Miles' raw assholery infects him. Anyway, another bullshit strip about it. We're going to school Sarah, a 10-year anniversary strip, and there we go. Gigo flees up a tree despite she literally just came down a second earlier. Sarah follows her and we get more broken English and this lovely frame, cause let's not forget exactly why Gigo was put into this comic. The next page some of you guys will actually remember from my Twitter. Yep, this picture used to be uncensored with nibbles and everything. They have however changed it, really poorly I might add, and so now they have these leaves blowing around. It's a shot nevertheless. Anyway, Sarah asks Gigo if they can be friends, and after a dumb yes from Gigo, Sarah then tells her they'll have to get her some clothes, to which Gigo replies,
"Clothes? What? Comic no work on writing. We need to compensate on boobs."
Sarah and Gigo then proceed to find Gigo some clothes, and doesn't this page seem familiar? Could it be because we saw the same fucking thing on page 59? And then later at 210? Same 3 frames with the character trying clothes and doesn't like either of the 3 options, eventually settling with a 4th option. Could be lazy writing, but judging by the sheer stellar stuff we've seen thus far, that's on... Yeah, I can't finish that joke without throwing up. Outside, Minos and Mora are having a fight because of Gigo. One of Mora's issues is that Gigo doesn't wear clothes. How the fuck can this cunt be cranky about someone not wearing clothes when she's so happy to take it off herself? Anyway, Mora is also pissy about Minos lying to her about Gigo, but apparently Minos just can't tell her why it's now his turn to watch Gigo. By an odd twist of fate, Mora is somehow okay with this and doesn't murder Minos, and instead makes out with him in front of Edward, who is eavesdropping on the two. It's almost like working with your ex is a bad fucking move! So, in case I forgot to mention, cause the less attention I gave Din and Jin the better, these two made a bet whether or not Edward would get back together with Mora. And because Edward is now all moody because he just watched Mora and Minos being lovey-dovey, the two fairies are now close to saying the bet is over. There's a problem though. Why does this make Edward super moody? Has he never seen Minos and Mora being super lovey-dovey up to now? It's not like Mora's been holding back on being super touchy, and from the looks of things, neither has Minos. But none of that shit can prepare you for the bullshit that's coming our way. Bullshit with the name Ailana. I'll be perfectly honest here, I read ahead after this just to make sure that this wasn't just some hallucination or a trick. But nope, she's really here. So let's turn the clock back a little. Back to where Edward, like a total klutz, decided to track down Mora and in the process got stranded on an island where he lost his memory and stole all the ideas from the road to El Dorado. This was an island in the middle of the sea. He was then later abducted by a mech that took him to Alejandro's company. Right? Okay. Now, how the fuck did Ailana find Edward? She's from an island that didn't use technology from the looks of things. How could she track down Edward? Why is she on the farm now? How did she suddenly bump into Edward at the tree there and not knock on the front door of the farm like any normal person would? How did she suddenly decide to show up just as Edward is having this love crisis for no good reason where his heart is easiest to manipulate? And just before you start pointing out that Ailana here has broken English as well, even Edward points out that she used to speak much better English but has seemingly forgotten it since then. Is it even legal to be this bad at writing?
No. No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No. 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 Hell no. No. No.
And so, after either Din or Jin loses the bet and is forced to live 100 years within a pickle jar, and Mora reluctantly, yet again, lets Gigo stay on the farm, we are finally caught up with one last page being a total Twilight ripoff. And that's it. That's 474 pages of Les Linders. What a load of horrible, horrible, horrible horseshit. And I hope you guys are happy. I have swallowed my pride and gone back to this.
Okay, enough already! What's gotten your panties into a twist? I figured you'd be glad that we're finally done.
You don't get it, do you? You don't get it. Pride this, pride that. Pride has nothing to do with this.
What are you talking about? Pride made me...
Did she? Who decided to review this?
I did?
Pride is long gone, dipshit. You never stopped up and wondered why we all looked like you while Pride was the total opposite of you, a totally hot chick? That's because Pride is the least fucking thing you've ever felt in your life.
Hey now, you're cutting pretty deep there.
When's the last time you took any pride in anything you did after making these videos? You never did. And why? Because you were always comparing your shit to people who were far better than you. Put two and two together, dipshit. You're probably the only one so far that hasn't. Why am I the only one left? How did you create me?
It was a dumb homage to Angry Joe.
Oh, come on. Fine. Fine. Let me spill it out for you. Everyone knows there are 7 deadly sins. We have only seen 6.
You're not saying what I think you're saying.
Open your eyes, dipshit. You are envy.
What?
Think back. The first comic you reviewed at this place was questionable content. As you said yourself, another of the comics that made you want to make your own comic. The writing on your frid that said guilt. You immediately thought it was something to feel guilt over, but hiding behind the drawing you made of your own comic was the last letter telling you that you were guilty. Guilty of being envious. Guilty of being one of us. A sin.
Why would I be envy? Why would I review this comic out of envy?
Because you're envious of their success. You're envious that someone can actually make a living out of doing what they love and be so loved as the creators of this comic is. Pride set you out on this journey with a cursing tattoo that you were forced to review comics. You, for the first time in a long time, felt proud of your work. Therefore, you were forced by your pride to get more likes than dislikes. But eventually, you started doing these videos not because of pride, but simply because you liked doing them. But no matter whether it was pride or not that drove you to do them, always, there deep in your heart, there were always that feeling of envy. That's why you had a breakthrough when you ranted about Metal Gear. Cause that's what created your affection for well-written stories to begin with. What made you wanna make stories in general. Heck, envy is why you created me back in the day. You were envious of all the other big reviewers having a villain, and it mixed in perfectly with your admiration for Angry Joe, and that's how I was made.
I get it. Uberig, that's German for the super ego, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why he said I was him and he wasn't me. Because he's in charge of us, the egos.
There you go. That's also why he was trying to help. Why he tried to let you figure it out all on your own. The super ego just keeps the egos in check. It doesn't manipulate it. He tried to make you review good comics so he could drag that envy out of you. Which reminds me, there's something that you still need to do, isn't there?
You're right. You're absolutely right.
I loved this comic. Remember what I said at the beginning of this season in my questionable content review? How I used to work a shitty job that gave me a ton of opportunities to read comics? At one point I had caught up with questionable content and I fell over Les Linders. I was a teenager, so of course I fell head over heels over its sexy content and its colorful style.
I even tried to copy the style for a period when I was drawing. I would, look up the pictures and then I would see what he had done and I would paint it on my own pictures. I would obviously always reference it, but I suppose you could call it tracing.
But eventually I just dropped away from Les Linders, and when I returned a year or two later, cracks had started to show. The spectacle, the pretty colors, the big breasts. they just couldn't hide the massive flaws anymore. And returning again to this now, it's like finding your big idol was abusing children behind closed doors. This is the comic I fell in love with, that I was so envious of. But now, it's the comic that made me hate every furry comic out there.
I guess I have to go do the final verdict then, huh? Go on then. Put the old girl to rest.
The premise is a 2. The only thing saving this comic from a 1 is because the idea of the premise is really good. Like I said before, tons of people have explained what they'd have done with this premise, and it was always really interesting and obviously much better than this could be. But here the writing is atrocious, the worst I've ever seen. It can't keep track of its own lore, it doesn't know how to handle itself, there's plot holes everywhere and obvious flaws that even a 5-year-old would shake their head at. The art is a 7. It was a rough start, a really rough start, but somehow not as rough as the middle. But then it turned out to be a great style. I truly love how it is now so much Telos' own style, with its cartoony look and its bright colors, and like I said before, when it tries to be hot, it can be. But it took a while to get here, and for that it gets a 7. The characters are 1. Yeah, I bet you thought it'd be higher with how much I've complimented characters like Alejandra, but you gotta keep in mind I was only able to do so because of the vast contrast that was, well, every other character. And even near the end here, Alejandra too got degraded to becoming a dopey shitty character. These characters are garbage, has absolutely no consistency, a bunch of self-insertion, and despite seeming different, all they want is the same. All in all, this comic is a 2. I can in no shape or form advise reading this garbage. And heck, with my videos, you now don't have to. If you truly want to get the good thing this comic has to offer, go to Chalos' gallery on his DeviantArt and go browse his stuff. That way you won't have to read, and I'll happily say this as many times as I have to, the worst webcomic I have ever read.
There we go. It's done. You did it. I'm proud of you. I guess you're the real deal then, huh? As real as they come, I suppose. I'm just a container for all you guys. What happened to me now? Will I just cease to exist? You kidding? With all the amazing webcomics out there, from all the amazing authors and artists, you will probably be the most prominent one. You'll be right here on center stage with me. I guess I can live with that.
When nothing had my back, family, friends, nothing, there were 2 things that never left me. Art and writing. Whenever I got bullied, I'd think up a magical place. Whenever I was beaten, I'd draw a hero. Art is beautiful. Art is limitless. Stories can be everything and nothing, and drawings can be everything from sketches to the most detailed paintings ever. Art is shapeless. There's no wrong art, no guidelines. It's all about your emotions. When the pen is in your hand, you can create worlds, shape people, rewrite history. You are powerful, more so than you could ever hope to imagine. You may not be able to draw what you believe to be perfect, but it's your drawing, so it's exactly how you made it and how it should be. You may not be able to put your emotion in a story as much as you want, but it can be a stepping stone to something greater. So draw, write. The world you create is at your feet. Be it a silly comic or an epic tale of heroes. The world is yours, and it's right there in front of you. Art can never be perfected, but art will always be perfect. I'll see you guys at the next webcomic relief. Take care. I will admit I got a little sappy there at the end. Well, that's season 3 for you guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. This extra long, pretty special episode was made possible by the help of a bunch of amazing people. And never have I been so humbled with how many showed their, their support for this show. And there's a lot of things to list out right now, so might as well jump into it. First of all, we got Shane Asher. Shane Asher works on the superhero furry webcomic called SOS, better known as Strays of Seravia. I can't stress enough how much I look forward to actually seeing this in the works. Shane is at the moment working on getting a page up and running so he can put up the comic there. But you can already now go to his DeviantArt and see some of his works. I really look forward to seeing it because I'm a huge fan of superheroes. Next up we have Alix J. Alix J was one of the drinking videos you saw at the beginning of this video. She's making the Death is My Bitch, a very interesting comic about, death in the workplace. I've been talking about it before, and really you need to go look at this because, as I've said before, it's one of those comics where the sheer theme is so hard nailed into the bones of this thing. Like, she never strays away from just this core theme of death being a normal, almost trivial thing for the people in this comic, and I really think that's a cool idea. Did you love the animation at the beginning, the sprite art? That was made by Cloudydaze. I laughed my ass off when I first saw that. He's super talented. I mean, those animations were smooth, they were funny, and they were really unique. So if you loved them as much as I did, really just go check them out. And then we have Allison Carmichael. Allison Carmichael, as you may remember, I don't know what she actually makes. I keep thinking that it's Tides of Ternanok, and I'm pretty sure that it is. She hasn't got a hold of me yet, so let's just assume that it is. And if it is, then it looks like a super interesting fantasy comic. Really, just go check on her Patreon, go check on her Tides of Ternanok, and if that's indeed what, you know, the person is behind, then yeah, go support it. It really looks great. Next up is Skidd. You don't really need an introduction there. Skidd is the writer of UberQuest along with his amazing wife, Phuske. I don't know how you pronounce Phuske? I don't know. They are obviously the much better alternative to, well, the shitfest that we have just finished here. So really, just go and read UberQuest. It's so amazing. I'm even, you know, throwing tons of money at it. I love it. Next up, we got Scott Sokoto Fraser. Scott makes all this really cool furry art, and also he's been, like, every time you talk with this guy, he always has a bunch of new cool ideas. He's working on a comic called Star Warriors, but he already have a bunch of other stories under his belt that you can find on his DeviantArt page or his Tumblr. I really suggest you go check it out. If possible, go find his Five Nights at Freddy's video, Five Nights at Freddy's comic. That one is amazing. A new up-and-comer on this whole Patreon thing is Shannon TJ. And at first I was like, oh, because, you know, there's all these profile pictures, and I looked at it and I was like, oh my god, this is really amazing, like, colors. It's so colorful, and not to the point where it's, you know, obnoxious to look at. And I was like, wow, looks really great. And then I, you know, click to find out what the hell it's all about, and Shannon TJ is the color artist of the Dreamkeeper's graphic novel. Holy shit. Really, you know, go check out her DeviantArt page. Wow, just the sheer passion, you can feel them in these colors. Just really go check them out. And last but definitely not least, we have the Pro Dogs, Miyake, Shiv, ThatLeaf, LizzieShiro, Brandon Hall, and David Lillie. So if you want to be one of the people that I talk about at the end of this video, or, you know, just show your support for the show, you can do so on the Patreon. Just go to www.patreon.com/Riser. You can pledge any amount you want, and again, you don't have to. The more you pledge, the more awesome rewards you'll get. Like, I'll talk with you, I'll you know, brainstorm ideas with you. I will, you know, give my input on the product that you're making and be brutally honest, as you know that I like to be, and push your product as much as I possibly can. But also, you know, just there will also be other cool stuff like commentary tracks. Like this time, I might do more of this where people get to see the video earlier. I don't know. I'll have to see what people think about it. And, you know, I just promise you that there'll be a bunch of new, you know, extra exciting things for the patrons. But yeah, if you don't want to pledge, good on you. I don't want to force you to do anything. It's your money. But at least, you know, if you like this video, throw a like and leave a subscribe. That's really all I ask for. And if you don't do that, well, fine. Just thank you for watching it till the end. It's been an amazing journey, and one that I am happy to have gone on, even despite, you know, the shitty comic I ended it with. But yeah, I look so much forward to just continue doing this in season 4, and I'll see you guys there. So take care till next time. Bye bye.